What's going on, everyone? Today we have Lara Jade, who needs no introduction, but if you've never heard of her, she's a fashion and portrait photographer out of New York. And she is also one of the instructors for Portrait Masters. And you've been part of Portrait Masters from the beginning, right?
Yeah, since it kind of first launched, I was one of the early ones that released my first ever course, the fashion series. So I've definitely been around since the beginning, and it's been amazing to watch the growth of it and see where it is today.
Yeah, and so I just dipped my toes into this whole like Portrait Masters community last year whenever I first visited the in-person one that was in Arizona. And it's been amazing to kind of see like this community that has been around, I guess. So how's it been like being a part of it from the very beginning?
Really great. I mean, I've been friends with Sue for a long time, and a lot of the instructors too have been kind of a part of my journey and inspiration, such as Pratik, Felix. We're all kind of good friends and part of a community. So I feel like it was just kind of an extension of the community I already knew. And I feel like, as artists, we all kind of struggle with that because we all work alone, right? So it's like, as soon as you can get into a community and be like, okay, I'm around people that are like me, and like, we all kind of work the same hours, and freelance life is hard. So it's been, like I said, it's been a really amazing journey to kind of watch Sue and George launch this project, and turn it into what it is today. And I feel like this was really missing in the industry in terms of conferences, because you have all the different conferences around the world, but I feel like I never fully felt like there was this close community
Mhm.
of people. It's almost like, when I went to Arizona, and I think you would probably agree, because I remember talking to you there as well. It's like everyone is kind of friends, and even if you don't know someone, like someone will introduce you to someone, and then, you will talk after.
Yeah,
And then you look forward to the next year as well, which is what I was hoping for this year.
I know. Yeah, so that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about Arizona. And then I also noticed that like because everyone's continually going to all of these workshops, you get to actually see the growth of these students. And some of these students have grown into speaking roles and stuff like that. Do
Yeah.
you have any experience like working with people and being able to see like that growth?
I have through my own workshops, something that I really enjoy is like I've met some of my good friends on my own in-person workshops, and seeing the growth from them, then maybe on my groups, or I just become friends with them and I follow their journey, and seeing the growth, not just because they've been at my workshop obviously, but because they've had that passion and inspiration from the beginning. Like they come and they just kind of want to know the ropes, and if they're doing the right thing, they already have the talent, and then you just kind of see them skyrocket and then go on this journey. And I think conferences like the Portrait Masters really nurture that, because they are looking for, the next level of talent. They want to give opportunities to people that are underprivileged or maybe haven't had an opportunity. Because I know
Mhm.
being a young female photographer, I think my first opportunity years ago was with a big camera brand, and I was terrified. No one kind of told me how hard it would be to do this. So I think, going to the Portrait Masters as a student, you're also looking at the fact that you could potentially be on that stage in years to come, and there is an opportunity to get there. It's not like this red curtain stopping you from getting in. You kind of see it as it is, and people will help you get there as well.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how some of the students kind of, because I know Sue's talk is about speaking and like breaking the boundary into like giving presentations and stuff like that. And so it'll be interesting to see how the students progress after they get that like bolt of inspiration to be speakers and stuff like
It's
that.
so hard, isn't it, to get up there on stage? It's almost like, like going to school with no pants on, like having a dream that, like, or a nightmare that something's going to happen, and you're standing there and everyone's eyes are at you. And especially if you're not like super confident, like
Mhm.
I was never that confident as a teenager. I always shied away from like when we had to read out in class. So I feel like, in a way, like having these people behind you, and seeing what's possible, and you get together with this community, and people are like, you can do it and you
Mhm.
should do it. I know Sue Bryce was the first person to say to me, come on, Lara, get on Creative Live. You've got lots to teach. I was like, I can't do that. Like, I cower behind a podium when I get up to do like an hour talk. Like, how am I going to do a 3-day workshop? But, having those people be like, you can do it. Of course
Yeah.
you can do it. And relating that they're also in the same boat and they've had to learn. You're not born that confident, and if you are, you're just
Yeah, you're an outlier. Yeah. It's
It's
not
not
natural.
normal.
Definitely. So as someone that's done like, so you've obviously done a good handful of virtual-esque type classes. So, like speaking to a camera, and then you've also done a ton of the speaking in front of big giant crowds. Is there one that you prefer over the other? Like, are you more comfortable in front of the camera, or do you like draw energy from having a big crowd to talk to?
I definitely draw energy from a crowd because I can then see faces and
Uh-huh.
reactions. When you're talking to a camera, it's like a black hole.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to almost imagine someone's face on the camera when you're recording for a class. So I definitely prefer, like, if I had to pick one out of the big classes, in-person workshops, and doing the live recorded thing, I would say the smaller in-person classes, because I get to talk to everyone, I get to
Hmm.
interact, I get to bounce questions off of everyone, which I find more interesting. I like it to be a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just me talking to a crowd.
What about in comparison to like the big giant 300 people crowds?
That's always scary. I think anyone that was live that was like, I can get up there and I'm absolutely fine. I've seen people backstage, go up there and they're always like, they do a dance. They have like their thing, whether it's like a breathing thing or whether it's like they need to listen to a powerful song before. I just kind of run to the bathroom and sit there until it's my time to go.
Just like some
Um,
deep, heavy breathing.
yeah, and it's like if I'm on a stressful shoot, I do the same thing. I just go to the bathroom just to sit there and tell myself it's
Yeah.
okay. That's my way of dealing with it. But yeah, it's always scary when you get up in front because you're always going to feel like you're judged in some way. But I feel like when I was doing the portrait masters thing in Arizona, I didn't feel that way because it kind of felt like I knew a lot of the people already.
Hmm.
And a lot of the instructors are sitting in the audience too, which I think is great. I love sitting in other people's classes and watching them, and you can always learn something. So I kind of felt like I was doing a talk for friends versus it was like to all of these strangers in a room.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about Portrait Masters, it's like there's not this crazy segregation of like, oh, the instructors are over here and the students are over here. Like during the day, everybody's like intermixed and walking around and you're chit chatting and stuff like that. And so it has
Yeah.
a lot more of that like small conference feel, even though there is hundreds of people there.
Exactly. And I never kind of felt out of depth. Some conferences you go and you may be an instructor and you constantly have people coming up to you. I felt like it was this good mix of like, I can relax. People are really nice to talk to, they kind of respect your area when you need downtime. And yeah, I'm just really sad it's not going on this year.
But the virtual one does sound pretty awesome. And one of the cool things about the virtual one is that they have the shootouts now. And so that was one of my favorite parts about the in-person one is that, someone would get up like you get up and you do your presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, you go into a live shoot. And so now we have this like live shoot aspect where we get to watch you shoot, but it's also almost a competition with 3 other photographers that are doing the same thing. They have like, there's time limits and you have the same model and stuff like that. So do you want to talk us through a little bit about how that went?
Sure. So I was on a day with 3 other photographers, and we were the Canon shooters, and at Peter Hurley's studio, and we all had the same model. So I believe it's like 3 rounds of photographers on different days, so maybe 12 total.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but 12 total. So we all had the same model, who was absolutely lovely. She was a new face, so obviously it's not so easy when you're posing new faces. So I had to kind of, go back to my roots a little bit and be a bit more directional with the posing and ideas. And they brought a wardrobe over from California. And sent it over. So we had outfits picked out that potentially we would use. So when we got to set, all I knew was that there's going to be different backdrops, there's going to be various different lights, we're going to be using the same model, same space. And it really is just to put, our flavor on kind of, the recipe of our style.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, like there's a textured backdrop, great. So I'm going to layer that, and I kind of did what I do, which I love to bring femininity, but I want that femininity to have that contrast of being strong. Like
Mm-hmm.
a woman can be strong and powerful, but she can be pretty and feminine, which is what I love to shoot. So I kind of just brought exactly that to the table, and we had half an hour to shoot our model and get a great shot, which
Not a
is
lot of time.
not a lot of time when you've got to set everything up and talk through every step, because you are watching it and you need to know. In my usual style, I don't have to talk about what I'm doing. I just kind of walk with my assistant and we do it and we just get it set up pretty quickly. But talking through every step, it's like, oh God, it's 20 minutes gone, you know?
Uh-huh.
And then we get to shoot it, but you also need warm-up time. You know, as a fashion photographer, I need about 2 hours at the start of the day where hair and makeup's being done and where I get to like talk with the client, talk to the model, look over the mood board, set up the light, do lighting tests. I didn't have that time. So it's almost like I'm trying to get my final image during the lighting test, which is really hard. And at one point I was like, is that light even going off? Like, do I have time to even correct this? But also in the back of my head, I'm like, oh God, is this a competition? Because no, like I need to up my game and like, you know, get moving a little bit.
Yeah.
Then also, you know, I got to meet some of the instructors kind of as we were passing kind of in the hallways and stuff. And it was interesting to see like what they did. I didn't get to see their shots, but just knowing from like talking to them what they did.
Yeah.
You know, some more simple setups, someone did more complicated setups. But what I really liked, like listening to what people were discussing, is that everyone kind of brought their style. I don't think there was anyone that you know, it was like with Lindsay, I kind of know Lindsay's style. So I was like, I bet Lindsay's going to use that dress, or I bet Carl's going to use that, or I bet, you know, Susan's going to use something cozy. And I kind of felt like that was really nice to see that like everyone kind of brought their thing to the table.
Yeah, I think that's always interesting, like putting multiple photographers into the same room and having the same limitations and seeing how drastic the results differ from one another. So yeah, I'm sure you'll be tuning in to see the final results of your competition.
I will mention we were all in masks and it was so hot because we have to switch the AC off, right?
Yeah.
And you're already hot and I'm wearing a thick jumpsuit, not thinking about the weather for some strange reason. And at one point I was like talking so fast that I was just like, okay, I'm going to faint. Like, this
like, oh, I have to breathe.
Like limitations of like breathing and you know, like climate too that were there that people don't see when they're tuning in. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a great experience. And also to do something during, you know, the pandemic and be busy again too.
Yeah. Very cool. Are you going to be part of any of the Zoom happy hours that they're having?
Yeah, I definitely want the details on those and to know what's going on, because I think that's a great idea. And I can only imagine like more conferences are going to take inspiration from this and companies and be like, what a great idea to like get together and chat with people.
Yeah, I heard there was going to be a karaoke room or some sort of karaoke theme. So maybe that's the one you'll be in.
Yes, I remember last year I I did one karaoke with Sue.
Yes. I took pictures of it.
That was it. Yes, you did the great pictures of it. That was, I kind of wish there was no evidence of that.
You do now, but then in 30 years, you'll be like, oh, I remember such a great time.
Yeah, such a great time when I'm so young.
Awesome. So do you have anything else about, you know, this virtual experience that you want to touch on? Like, how was it having to like, obviously you had a talk prepared for the in-person workshop because that was the initial plan. Did you have to like completely switch gears in order to go virtual, or did you stick with your initial idea?
I feel like it's somewhat similar in terms of if you're doing keynotes, because you kind of just explaining it in the same way and you're near your computer and you can kind of switch slides. I think the hardest thing was just doing the kind of recorded shootout, not knowing, like, you know, because none of the team were there, obviously, because they couldn't travel in. So it was just like the camera crew and kind of getting an idea of, okay, what's going on and how is this going to be possible and how is it going to be recorded? Like, I kind of see 10 steps ahead and try and see the final product. And I was like, how is this going to be done and how is it going to be put together? But, you know, the way they have it all planned out is pretty incredible.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for jumping on here with me. I appreciate you taking the time, and I can't wait to see your shootout and see the end results and stuff like that. Where can people find you if they don't already follow you?
You can find me, my portfolios at larajade.com, or Instagram handle is Lara Jade Photography.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.